Hi, everyone. My name is Clarice, and I am the new executive director of Free School. I started working here about 2 months ago, and one of the big ideas that I want to bring to this organization is I want to strengthen the educational component that we offer you, our members. I know that we serve many busy parents, loving caregivers, and dedicated educators, and I think that we can help all of you by sharing little bits of knowledge about the importance of nature play and how you can support the children in your lives as they engage in nature play. I myself am a parent of two little children, just like many of you, and I have found this knowledge helpful to me as a parent. I also want to go ahead and apologize in advance if you hear my children on the background. Um, I want to start this presentation by thanking Sarah Damian, who is our in-house educator who put together these slides, as well as the Vela Education Fund, which has funded these educational materials and additional ones that we'll be doing. And of course, our generous sustaining members whose donations going to supporting Free for School as an organization. And without much more to add, let me go ahead and share my slides with you. Just bear with me for a minute. All right, here we go. All right, friends, we are all set. And the first presentation on this series is on the topic of common play urges. You will learn what play urges are, what are some of the most common ones, and how you can use this knowledge to support the kids in your life. I want to begin by saying that all children have a natural urge to learn about the world. Even with no formal instruction, children learn about things. They are always learning about everything. In fact, the goal of playing itself is actually learning. This is why I like to say to my kids that playing is their number one job, it's the most important thing they do every day. A play urge is a desire that most children experience as they engage in play. It is something that they often feel the need to do, and they repeat over and over and over again. It is very natural and is also essential for learning. These play urges help children process information, explore new ideas, think about new concepts, express their understanding of the world, and commit that knowledge to memory. This is a very organic learning process that is both very effective and efficient. Now, folks who study play urges have found and listed more than 30 of them. But today, in the interest of time, we will be going over just the most common ones. We'll cover a total of 9 play urges. The first play urge that I want to discuss is orientation. Orientation has to do with physically seeing the world from different perspectives. Did you ever notice how children, and sometimes this happens very early on, they start climbing, perching, hanging upside down, laying on the ground and looking up, sometimes bending and looking at you from between their legs. I know my little 1-year-old was climbing on objects before he could even crawl. This satisfies the urge of exploring orientation. It allows children to experience the world from different angles, test their comfort with different heights and different weights, and to work on gross motor skills related to balance and coordination. Next, we will talk about positioning, or the desire for order and organization. I know that does not sound at all like children, but just hear me out. The positioning play urge calls children to line up, sort, and pair objects. Have you ever caught your child lining up rocks from biggest to the smallest? Or maybe color sorting fallen leaves? Or maybe just making a row of sticks in the ground? This urge fosters the child's development of logic, and it helps them make sense of things in a particular order. It also eventually helps develop turn taking, by letting kids learn about what comes first and what comes next, which is really a building block for being able to take turns. The third urge is connection, connecting objects to build something and then see how it comes apart, building and knocking it down. This is the stuff of early engineering, making a bridge out of logs to cross a puddle, or creating a fort out of natural elements, making a tower of rocks or a sandcastle, or my 3-year-old's new favorite, a volcano. We also recently built bug homes with rocks, sticks, and leaves. And I got the chance to watch him explore how those elements could work together and how sometimes they just don't work together. Now, trajectory. This urge is my 1-year-old's strongest play urge at the moment. He cannot get enough of throwing and dropping things. We have thrown leaves in the air, we have dropped snacks on the ground, we have tossed rocks on the river, and sprayed water on logs. Trajectory is all about noticing concepts like distance, direction, and force. It is amazing for gross motor skill. And I know that it can be distressing as a parent to watch a toddler just throw things, which is why it is important to remember that we, as the adults in the room, can create safe boundaries while still supporting this urge. As an example, at our house, the rule is that we don't throw anything at people or at pets, but that the grassy backyard or the kiddie pool are fair game. Then the fifth play urge is that of enclosure. This has to do with filling containers or sometimes squeezing items into a small space, or maybe placing objects inside a closed space, such as a box, a fenced area, a hole. Great examples that I have seen many children engage on completely unprompted are filling empty containers, such as buckets or bags, with little treasures, or collecting small rocks, sticks, leaves, or shells. The goal here is to understand volume and boundaries, how much can fit into certain spaces, and what happens when the container overflows. The next play urge is the urge to transport. Kids, and surprisingly, sometimes really early, like to carry big loads and can often surprise adults with the size of the objects that they can carry. Moving around their space with a log bigger than themselves, or carrying a really large bucket of water, or shifting some rocks. This all helps them better understand the way of things, how the shape of an object affects how they can carry it. And it also teaches them ways to use their bodies effectively to move large objects around. It boosts their confidence and it teaches about their own strength. For the seventh urge, we have the desire to envelop. This is a little different from the enclosure urge because enveloping means that you are covering the whole object so it's no longer visible, while enclosure is really about surrounding an item with a container, but oftentimes the object can still be viewed. Think of enveloping as peekaboo. The urge to envelop can be seen when little children wrap themselves or others in big blankets, or when they play hide and seek, or when they hide special treasures from others. This urge is all about learning about shapes, space, measuring an object's size and volume, and figuring out how to conceal it. Our second to last play urge is rotation, or the desire to spin oneself or spin objects. This may be achieved by spinning oneself, like when children roll in the grass, or by spinning an object, like when children draw circles in the dirt. It also allows them to explore body positioning in relation to other things. It helps them learn how to maintain balance, improve coordination, and about how objects of different sizes and shapes move. Finally, our last play urge is that of transformation. We can see this urge when we observe children testing how they can change materials into a new form or appearance. It also invokes a lot of concepts from physics and chemistry, and even a little bit of art. We see the urge to transform when kids add sand and water in different proportions to make a variety of mud stews, or when they crunch fluffy snow to make harder snowballs. We can see it when they change the color, shape, and presentation of many natural elements. And for kids, this is all about understanding cause and effect and how they can alter themselves and the world around them. All right, now that we have covered 9 of the most common play urges, let's talk about how you, as a parent, caregiver, or educator, can support the children in your lives as they learn through play. The first thing we need to do is just observe. By paying close attention to kids as they play freely and without interfering with their play, you will begin to notice which urges they're feeling most in the current moment. Pay attention to what draws them, what they do with those objects and with their bodies, and actions that seem to repeat over and over and over again. Once you identify the common urges for your kids, you can begin to create spaces and times for them to explore these urges and to identify materials that they can use in doing so. As an example, in my case, my 1-year-old is very interested in trajectory, and my 3-year-old is interested in connection. So, when we have allocated playtime in nature, which happens a couple times a week, I make sure to find a spot with lots of natural elements that can be safely thrown, dropped, and connected to each other to build things. I am talking about lots of rocks, sticks, pine cones, leaves. Oftentimes, the very same objects can be used to satisfy those two urges and many others. And of course, the space, time, and objects will vary depending on what urges are most interesting to the children in your lives. So be creative. All right, here are some of the next steps for you as you work to support your children's play urges and help them learn. Observe your children over the next week while they play. Remember, don't interfere. Take note of 1 or 2 play urges that you notice happen over and over again. Choose one thing that you can do to support that urge. And share your findings with us by tagging at Free4School on social media. If you would like to learn more about nature play and how we can encourage emergent, self-directed learning among children, please connect with us online. We are on Instagram and Facebook. You can also join our virtual platform, Our Outdoors, to access not just educational materials, but also to connect with other parents like you, and perhaps even attend local Free4School meetups if they are available in your area. We would love to see you in Our Outdoors. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my slides now. That's it, friends. Again, I would like to thank you for spending some time with me today. And please stay tuned for the next presentation. We will have a series of these coming up in the near future. We will see you out there.